Well, I can't speak for anybody else involved in that feature, but I can say without question, Mark Cole and I are not being paid by Ferrari to talk about their new cars. We will not be getting a 458 this week, next month, or any other time, probably in our entire lives, unless it's 1/43rd scale. And Mark, that's your department. 55 is on pit road, our race leader. Christophe Bouchou leapt out with the alacrity of a man who's been racing for a mere 30 years. Hurley Hayward, with 20 more years of a racing career under his belt, will be a little less alacrous. Agile, anyway, getting out. What's the verb, the adverb or adjective that comes from alacrity? I don't know, anyway. Away they go. Alacrity. Yeah, alacrous. Yeah, jumping out easily. Away goes to 55, and we'll check in a moment to see who is at the helm. David Donoghue now leads from Ryan Briscoe and Terry Borchella. Mimo Rojas has taken over the 0-1, and there is the battle between car number 5, our race leader, and car number 10 in second place. 20 hours and a half remaining, but still cars that we expected to be at the front are at it hammer and tongs as they were in the first minute.
So both these cars have led a number of laps. David Donoghue for 19, Ryan Briscoe's car for 24 laps during the course of this race. We have now had, how many lead changes? Total leaders, 7 lead changes during the course of, more than that,
7 leaders.
7 leaders, and a lot of cars that have
lap after
changed.
lap,
We've had
the car
4
was
laps
great,
under
so
caution.
when I had a safety car, I was P1, and I just keep this position until the end of my stint, so great.
Tell us, what are the most difficult things about the racetrack right now? Traffic, surface, temperature, tires, what is the most difficult?
The problem is always the same, it's a bus stop. It's very hard to see where you have to brake, especially or when it's dirty or when there is GT. It's really a big problem here, because if you go off, you collect rubber or you hit a curb and you can damage your front splitter. So this is the only place where it's really hard to manage a lap, but the traffic, it's same as Daytona, it's here, really hard.
You can expect nothing less. Luis is in the car, I'm sure he'll have a strong run. Well done, Christophe.
Oh, Mark Cole, note the date and the time. Christophe Bouchou grins. Well, Christophe Bouchou and Justin Bell, who was interviewing them, were teammates together in the Orica Viper days of the FIA GT Championship before they came with Udo Schonak's team to race over in the States, and before Christophe fell out with them, as he has subsequently done with pretty much everybody he's ever raced with. Nonetheless, he still had the car in the lead. Ryan Briscoe in second place now in car number 10, chasing around the outside. Yeah, and this is classic Daytona stuff, isn't it? Nose to tail action.
3 hours, 40 minutes into the race, and this is for the lead. Doesn't get any closer than this.
Well, it does, but not without too much injury. Yeah, very close indeed. It was like this in the first corner of the race. 3.5 hours later, they still haven't settled down, and they probably won't, will they? They'll be at it in the last hour of the race as well.
But right with them is the number 9 car. Oh, it's just gone down a lap, so they're a lap behind. No, they're on the same lap, 6.3 seconds, and we're not sure who's on board at the moment. The transponder hasn't picked up which of the 5 drivers it is.
I did think it was Terry Borchella that when we saw him after the last pit change from starting driver Joao Barbosa.
If we get a car shot and it's a bright yellow helmet, we know it's Christian Fittipaldi on board, but it could be Max Papis, could be Juan Barbosa, who's already been in, of course. It could be JC France.
Yeah, Joao won't be driving again until they've all cycled through, and particularly they want to get JC France out of the way before it really gets dark. David Donoghue leads from Ryan Briscoe. This is Daytona prototypes, and overall it is Terry Borchella third. Mimo Rojas back up to 4th place despite that gearbox change, still on the lead lap. Michael Valianti and Justin Wilson complete the top half dozen. We will take a quick pause. Be back right with you in a second. Welcome back live to Daytona. Well, Bill Auberlen leads the GT class from Patrick Pilet. Lee Keane in 3rd place, Rob Bell in 4th, Dave Lacey in 5th, and almost as tight a battle in GT as there is in the rest of the field. Bill Auberlen and Patrick Pilet almost inseparable in the lead. 4.9 seconds behind in third is Lee Keen in the Brumos Racing 59 Porsche, as we ride on board with one of our Mazda RX-8. There's what, half a dozen of these in the field, 7, 8 of them. You've probably got that written down somewhere, Mark, as a stat. I'm just counting down the leaderboard.
Actually 12 of them, yeah.
12, goodness gracious.
All Bill Riley built as well. So
all tube frame chassis.
Yeah.
Let's try and figure out who are we with? Is this the Spencer Motorsports, the 63 car, Jim Downing and the boys?
Could be. It's certainly not the Dempsey ones. So just looking down.
Either that or it's the 30 Racers Edge. I'm trying to think who we've had an on-board with before. What you need is a bit of kudzu livery on it.
I think it may well be Jim Downing.
I think it might be Jim Downing's car. Jim Downing, who's a veteran racer, shares with David Murray, Owen Trinkler and Dennis Spencer, and the man who put it on, who qualified it, Richard Grupp, who's a driver I have not come across before. I don't remember his name at all. I may just not have been paying attention, but it is Jim Downing, the man of famed Atlanta resident of kudzu fame.
Yeah, I had Rich Grupp, in fact, is one of the owners of Team Spencer Motorsports. He and Dennis Spencer own that together. Jim Downing, 68 years old, we've mentioned that earlier, oldest man in the race. Yeah. And Jim, of course, Group C GTP racer, came to Le Mans year after year with the Mazdas, with the American Mazdas, try and win it. Never quite pulled it off, and it was left to... in the end, left to Hugh Deshonak to pull that one off with the Tom Walkinshaw built.
And has been racing with Mazda engine cars for many years since. Now, driver change there on the 17 Porsche, and that's the car that Nick Tandy shares with factory driver Nicola Armindo.
Will Monomaca coming out of it.
He was the runner-up in the Super Cup, in the German Carrera Cup Series. In fact, he was the champion ahead of Nick Tandy, who was the runner-up in that. Jack Baldwin, Claudio Bertin and Martin Ragginger is the other driver in that car. And where are they? They are in 15th place. Martin Ragginger was the man who brought it in. And in just on the pit road as well, car number 65, Shane Lewis. We saw that car going off earlier with Bill Sweedler driving it, the Chris Smith Racing Porsche. And that seemed to be kind of a little bit unloved there. Rolex 24 action continues. And we are now 7:15 in the evening, started 3:30 Eastern. So getting on for 4 hours of racing, and no let up yet in the pace at the front of either the GT class or the overall Daytona prototype class. Here is car number 99, the Gainsco entry run by Bob Stallings for John Fogarty, Alex Gurney, and 5-time Cup champion Jimmy Johnson. But it's David Donoghue that leads from Ryan Briscoe, and Terry Borchella at the moment, 99, is a lap behind, I think, at the moment, or 2 laps behind, is it still? And trying to gain back time that they lost early on. Jimmy Johnson's had several stabs at it here. Best result, a pair of 5th place finishes, 2nd place finishes rather, in 05 and again in 09.
Yeah, he just loves this race. Jimmy comes here every year. Just first started to come here, of course. Originally, a lot of NASCAR drivers have come here just to get some track time before the 500, although it's quite radically different. But Jimmy just sort of got hooked on it and comes back year after year now.
And again, we talked about this earlier again, he's one of those banner names that attracts a lot of American attention, which gets a lot of American driver and finance attention, a lot of American team attention. And that's really brought the Rolex 24 back up to the sort of prominence it enjoyed in GTP days in the 80s and into the 90s, and had since the, since the 60s. It had a bit of a slump in the mid-90s, and it seems to be right back on a high level again. Lots of good competition, packed full of really mouth-watering driver lineups.
That's absolutely true. I mean, just look at the lead packs at the moment. Donoghue, Briscoe, Fittipaldi, Papis, Justin Wilson, Jimmy Johnson, all these guys, they're all stars of the sport, and the crowds who come here, not huge, you have to say, but the people who do come here, the hardcore sports car people, go away and they talk about this race for the rest of the year.
And why wouldn't you? Look, we're 4 hours into the 24, and this is the gap from second, who we ride with, to first. And actually, if you had a cockpit shot there in the braking into corner 1, you'd be thinking, oh, we're going to hit him on every single application of the brakes. They're so close, and he has been very close to getting fully alongside, just quite hasn't managed it yet, Ryan Briscoe. David Donoghue driving a really rocking stint here, keeping his nose just in front by inches.
This is where they go back up onto the west banking. This is NASCAR turns 1 and 2, and then you've got this really, really steep climb. You go high on the banking, 31 degrees, you're hitting 200 miles an hour about this point, and you keep that all the way down to the bus stop. The bus stop, you're braking 150 feet from it. You drop down from 5th gear, 4th into 3rd. Now watch this, he'll change down twice.
In fact, 3 times, and there are caution lights there. Local caution light.
Ryan Dial told us he was taking that in 3rd, flat in 3rd, the bus stop, but I think that felt like 2nd gear for Ryan there, didn't it?
Well, now, what size engine is in the 10 car? Have they got a 5-speed or a 6-speed? They've got a Chevy, so that'll be a 6-litre engine, so that will be a 5-speed box, so
Yeah, 6-litre engine, prepared by Chevrolet Racing.
As we talked about earlier, if you've got a below 5-litre engine, you can run a 6-speed gearbox, and that's flat 6 Porsche engine cars can do.
Another puncher.
Yeah, that's again right rear tyre, and we heard some thoughts on that, didn't we? That it's the transition, maybe Scott Pruitt thought, up onto the banking that's actually causing that.
It's Michael Valianti and the Michael Shank Riley Ford.
And that car was in 5th position. Now he's going to drop like a stone. Justin Wilson's already gone by. Jimmy Johnson's already gone by. Nick Jonsson's already gone by. It's going to be a long, slow drive back.
But Michael knows well enough, you just get back as slowly as you can without doing more damage to the car.
And he can feel that the tyre has split and shredded. Now he thinks that the wheel or the suspension are falling off. That's not the case. This is a regular green flag stop. About the first we've really seen for the 90 car. And a little bit of fire from the brake residue, the rubber residue, the build up in the wheels. 99 on pit road as well. So Jimmy Johnson is in. And who was in the 90 car? Paul Edwards still.
I think he stayed on board.
Yeah, and he may have handed it over to Sasha Masson as well, maybe handing over to Sasha Masson. Did Jimmy Johnson get out?
No, he stays on board.
He stays on board. Good to go. Quick fuel stop, green flag racing again. These are all the drills that he does 34 times a season. It's nothing new to him. Well, 34 times and more, because of course he does extra Grand Am races as well. In
fact, Jim is going to
nationwide races as well.
Jim is going to position over the 90 car there. I think there's probably a driver change.
I think you're absolutely right, there was.
See where that pans out. They came in at 9th and 10th and 11th now. Justin Wilson's gone past them.
Yeah, well, they came in from 2nd and 3rd, didn't 3rd and 4th. Here is car number 5, our race leader then. David Donoghue on pit road. Driver change, yellow helmet of Donoghue is out. Sorry, I was looking at the timing and scoring again to just confirm that Ryan Briscoe hadn't come onto pit road. Didn't see who got in. Who's been in car number 5? Darren Law and David Donoghue. So it's either Bert Frizzell or Buddy Rice. I don't know what Bert's helmet looks like. I only know Brad and Buddy Rice. I couldn't guess what his helmet looks like either. I didn't see it get in. So we'll wait and see what timing and scoring tell us. But that is the car that was battling so hard to hang on to the lead of the race. Former Brumos Porsche pulls out behind a Brumos Porsche, and there is Jimmy Johnson. Look at that, 2 minutes out of the car. Looks like he's just getting ready to get back in. He's so fresh. How can you do that? I guess you have to be pretty fit to race any kind of cars. And Jimmy Johnson, well, he's such a lazy, not lazy, an easygoing attitude belies the fitness of the man. No question at all about that.
Yeah, super fit this guy, isn't he? Anyone who's wondering progress of our friends Mark and Martin, Brundle and Blundell, the car is running 4th at the moment. Zach Brown, the United Autosports team owner, getting Michael Shank Racing to run Riley Ford for them this weekend, and Zach is in 4th place. Same lap as the leader. In fact, top 6 cars at the moment are on the lead lap, which is 119, 120 they're on at the moment. Ryan Briscoe leads as we see the 54 car come in for a routine stop. Patrick Pilet 3rd place, and the TRGB Black Swan car.
And I think he'll be staying in. Jeroen Bleekemolen did a couple of long stints in that car, didn't he? Maybe 3 at the beginning of the race. I think Pilet will stay in as well, get a really good run going in that car. And then Brett Curtis, Tim Pappas and James Sofronis will catch up with JME Johnson here.
Issue with the 99?
Yeah, we've got a really, really long pedal, and when the car came in for the pit stop, the rotors were still red. So we've got something going on with excessive heat that's kind of boiling the fluid, I would assume, and giving us a long pedal. It's really tough to pass anyone right now, and especially coming out of the kink, where you don't have a lot of time to get the pedal up before the before turn 5. It's a handful. I thought I was going off a couple times. So there's a bright side to it. The car's fast. It's good. We just can't really use the brakes right now, and we just got to be smart until we figure out what's up with it.
Now, with that braking issue, if we get a caution, is the team going to address that situation, maybe change out those corners or put new fluid in the car?
Yeah, I would think so. On my first stop, they pulled the nose off. There was some damage when Alex was in the car. They looked at the pads, and the pads weren't overly worn. They looked at the fluid, and there was fluid in the reservoirs. So we're taking steps trying to understand it, but we can't really dig in until a caution.
We were watching you a bunch of different times out there, and traffic just looks amazing. There were a couple times where it looked like some GT guys really got you caught out.
Yeah. And then on top of that, with my brake problem, if I couldn't have the brakes pumped and ready, I was going into a few situations with the brakes on the floor and just hoping I'd get stopped. So, two close moments for sure.
All right, get some rest.
Cool, thank you.
Of course, they don't need brakes in NASCAR, do they? So,
but until they do, and then you can't go back for a second time of asking.
He was actually asked about that, and he said, well, I had to drive my car here today, so how do you think I got here?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, I mean, when the brakes are still glowing and it's stood on pit apron, that means that the pads are staying in contact with the disc, so it's not a lack of fluid, it's something preventing the release. And there's the 54 car gyrating fresh out of the pits. Is that Patrick Pilet? Well, that was a very un-factory Porsche driver mistake from him. Barbecue time, that's what we like. 7:30 in the evening, let's get the old barbecue fired up and get a couple of snags on. Nick Johnson leads then in Tracy Krone's Lola. Ricky Taylor in 2nd place. Bill Auberland still on point in GT. That BMW shows no signs of quitting, but the Porsches are racking up behind him. Back at Daytona in the pits is the Krone Racing Lola. The only Lola chassis in the race, as it was last year. And the familiar lime green livery of Tracy Krone's operation. And don't think, Mark Cole, that there was a driver change in that stop. Nick Johnson came in from what was 2nd place, actually, as he came in.
He's been in the car for a long time, though. And I'd have thought it was time to change, but no, they're still showing him on the transponder.
Well, it probably won't change until maybe he gets out of the pit lane and off the speed limiter or something like that. It doesn't change till you leave the pit exit at Le Mans, does it? So,
but the Lola running
same here.
Lola running well today. They're built by Proto Auto, by the way, these cars in Atlanta. So designed by Andrew Burston at Lola 3 years ago, and they've now, what the team was, Multimatic.
Now this is the car that led our race. This isn't the Krone car, this is the 55 car. Suddenly going very slowly there on the banking for reasons I'm not entirely sure of. And here's the sister car. Ryan Hunter-Reay shares this with Rafa Matos, Scott Tucker and Richard Westbrook, London's most successful Porsche Super Cup champion. So Westy having his first Daytona prototype drive today. 18 Porsche on pit road. This is the Mullen Motorsport car, another British driver, Mark Thomas. You may not know him very well, lives in the UK, and in Azerbaijan is his other home address. That's what he gives. But out of no, I'm not kidding you. He steps out of that, and no, he doesn't step out of that car. I'll tell you who's getting out of that car in just a second. No, it won't. Because I can't figure which of the 3 US drivers would have a clover leaf on his helmet, because 3 of them live in the US, but it doesn't say what their nationalities are. So
Muller Motorsport, incidentally, they came here for the Raw before the 24. Bernard Muller's eponymous team, they're based at Spa. of course, and they then went straight off to Dubai to do the 24 hours there, so they've had a very full season already.
Same car, or do they leave this car here and take a different car to Dubai?
Different car, but they've basically done 3 events already in
January
2011.
That's not bad at all, is it?
Incidentally, just we mentioned the Krone car. Tracy Krone has actually taken over from Nick Johnson.
Ah, there you go.
Transponders just clicked in as he came round. So
want to know who's in the 95 car, the 55 car rather, because that was going slowly. Luis Diaz, the level 5 motorsport car. I wonder if that is still going slowly. Last lap was at 1 minute 45. It's not a mile away from real front-running pace, but a little bit too far, maybe.
Luis Diaz, of course, Scott Pruitt's partner in 2 of the Ganassi Championship winning years, but Luis himself has never actually won the 24. So.
Well, there is the scene at Daytona International Speedway, and here's the scene in traffic. 95 car is your camera car, and that is the BMW that has led the GT class, trying to get around the outside of a prototype. Here is the view of the BMW.
Nearly had him in the pit wall, didn't he, there?
Yeah.
The pit wall exit.
Great hold from our BMW, now being driven by Paul Dallalana, according to timing and scoring, or Bill Oberlin if you're in the speed truck, not sure which. Let's click up again. Says Paul Dallalana, not Billy Oberlin.
Paul Dallalana, is he from Tibet?
Not quite there. That's a good call, but no prizes for that one. Out comes the level 5 motorsport car, the 95 machine. And there is that BMW.
Yeah, we have
still leads the GT class from Max Hyatt. Let's get down to the pits.
Ricky Taylor now behind the wheel after Ryan Briscoe, and the 10 car was able to take the lead. Ryan, it looked like you were all over the back of the 5 car for a lot of that stint. Now that you guys have the lead, can Ricky pull away?
Our car was faster for sure. We were lacking a little bit of top speed, which was frustrating, and Donahue liked running down the inside of the track. It was hard to stay calm with 20 hours to go, and you want to race, but there's a long way to go. Car was really solid. And it's great that the guys got us in front during a pit stop with a driver change. So, all the boys are doing a great job, and hopefully we can just stay off the GT cars. There's a lot of action going on out there, and it's still so early. So hopefully we can keep the car clean, and if we do, the car's very fast.
Well, you've got a big weekend here this weekend, but also next weekend is Super Bowl, and you're a Steelers fan, right?
No, I'm with the Packers, and it's been a lot of fun. I've been to 4 of their games this year. I've been following through the playoffs, and really lucky that Verizon's going to take us to the Super Bowl. So I'll be wearing my cheese hat for sure next weekend.
Weren't you wearing that in Chicago last weekend? I mean, I'm from Chicago. I went to a bunch of the '85 games. What were you thinking about wearing Green Bay garb in that stadium?
It was pretty scary, I tell you. All those Bears up there, and in the second half when they started coming back, it wasn't fun wearing a cheese hat, I tell you, in Soldier Field. But at the end of the day, it was all good. We had the final say, and hopefully we do next week as well.
Well, nice run so far.
Thank you.
Well, looking forward to that. The Cheeseheads, Packers and Steelers. Wow. What an all-time classic that could be.
And he's going there. We have to sit and watch it in the Red Lobster. I don't know. Anyway,
I'm sure we'll manage. I'm sure it'll be beer o'clock come Super Bowl Sunday.
Martin, did you notice that great racing driver quote there at the beginning of his interview? He said, what he actually said is, our car's quicker, but we're lacking top speed. So
our car's quicker, but I couldn't get past. David Donahue liked the low line. Well, he was driving to stay in the lead ahead of this car that now has the lead. Ricky Taylor, Wayne Taylor's young son, or the older of his 2 sons, is at the wheel. And, well, Wayne is on the driver's strength, but as you said, may well not drive, so it could be just down to Max, Ryan, and young Ricky to win this one if they can. Well, here's Justin Bell. What's he got to say?
Like girly shorts, so that's a whole different thing. But one of the hardest things for us to explain to you at home, the viewer, is just the energy, the dynamics of real racing here at Daytona. Right now, you can see here's a Daytona prototype coming along the front straight at 192, 194 miles an hour. Under the braking there, boom, he goes down. I'm going to compare that to what you do on the road. They're probably pulling about 1.9 G under braking. In full panic mode, your road car, I mean with ABS locked, you're about to hit your wife's car, will probably do about 0.9. So it's extremely severe. Also, one of the most fun things about watching race cars at night is seeing the brake rotors glow. Now these are steel rotors, steel pads. When it glows orange, that beautiful crimson sort of sunset orange, it's about 1,200 degrees. When it glows white, it's getting up to 1,800 degrees. So as Derek Dong from Performance Friction said, this is a wonderful place. Just look at it, boom, to see what real cars look like. And while you may think it's easy sitting there in your armchairs, it's actually really bloody hard work here.
That's a good call. I mean, that is some of the physicality of things. These things will accelerate with more G-forces pinning you into the seat than you will generate with the ABS fully going and the rear seat contents hitting the screen in front of you in full panic mode. And as he said, you know, that's about half a G, 0.7 of a G. When you hit the brakes in these things, 1.8, 1.9 G, unbelievable amount of force throwing you on the seatbelts. So that's why they're cinched up so tight that you can barely draw breath in the car. And physically, it's like spending an hour in a tumble dryer in terms of temperature and the amount of battering the body gets, even on this mirror smooth new surface. Think about it over the years when it's been bumpy as all get out. I mean, it's a complete joy to drive now compared to any other time. Well,
great description from him. I think he's been on that Navajo cactus juice.
Yeah, I think so. Well, he spends too much time in his tiki hut, Justin, in those girly shorts he was talking about. Anyway, back with the Games Co car, we heard Jimmy Johnson talking about their brake problems. Now, look, you see what the man here with the wrench is doing. They're taking off the entire stub axle. The entire assembly on the end of the suspension will come off. They'll replace it with another one. What they think is they've got a sticking caliper. When you press the brake pedal, the fluid squeezes in the caliper, squeezes the brake pads up to the disc that runs between them, like you're holding it between your hands. And then what happens is when you release the pedal, they should just come fractionally away from the brake pad. Fractionally, so they're not quite touching. When they're glowing red in the pit stop, they have been touching all the time, so your hands are not coming apart from the pen that you're holding. It doesn't drop out. That's the problem. They're going to change the brake caliper. Little item you can see on the floor, that's a pair of expanders used to pull the brake pads apart. You put it in closed, pull it apart like it, or push it to pull the pads apart to allow you to take the caliper off the disc. And again, Mark, you know, guys of our age, we've done this week in, week out, changing your own pads on your own. If you've ever changed your brake pads on your race car, they're doing exactly the same thing. They work in exactly the same way, whether it's a fixed caliper like on your road car or a fully floating one, which gives you just a little bit more, a little bit less tolerance, a bit more compliance in the racing car. It's the same thing.
And these guys will practice this day in, day out at the Dallas workshops where Games Co are based, and so this is normal for them. They're not panicking. It's all very controlled.
But of course, when we do it on our road cars, we go out there, it's all cold, it's probably raining, of course, because it always is when you work on your car. You take it apart. Here, of course, bear in mind, the brake is probably still a mere 200 or 300 degrees. Now, it's not glowing, so it's not that hot, but you don't want to be touching it. That's why the guy you can see on the right there has got a thick asbestos glove on, because if you touch that disc, you will leave your skin on it, and not just a thin layer either. So, yeah, there's a lot of heat there. They will be sweating like pigs. They're wearing full race suits. They will be sweating from the heat of that thing. Ricky Taylor leads overall in the Sun Trust car, and Bill Auberland's BMW still leads in GT. We'll be back. Welcome back to Daytona, where we have a full course caution. It is our 6th caution of the race, and the lead is being held at the moment by the number 10 SunTrust car, Ricky Taylor at the wheel. Buddy Rice, 2nd place in car number 5, the Riley Porsche of the Action Express Racing team. He took over from David Donahue, who was the leader at that stage. And those cars changed place, couldn't do it in the stint. Jimmy Johnson couldn't get by, not Jimmy Johnson, Ryan Briscoe couldn't get by David Donahue. They changed place during the pit stop because of the driver changes, just costing the 5 car a little bit more time.
We haven't yet seen an incident, so we assume it's probably debris on track. They'll throw a yellow and every time they get a chance for that. This is the 5th yellow, incidentally. It's just been thrown. We've had 16 laps of the 128 under caution so far. Total of 7 leaders. We have had 22 leader changes, and we are 4 hours and 6 minutes into the 24. So we've just reached 8th distance. 8th distance, 6th distance, sorry. 1/6 of the race complete.
Yeah, okay, yeah, so I was just running through the times tables in my head there.
Yeah. It's been a long time ago.
Didn't do it on air because that would have just been embarrassing. Not for you, but for me.
So Grand Am officials there with the yellows. Very good signage all round Daytona Speedway, as you can see. Flashing yellows all round the track. Just make sure.
Because, of course, even under lights at night, you know, there are dark spots, particularly when you're on the infield, which isn't directly lit like the main part of the racetrack is here. So seeing flags is very hard, and at Le Mans as well during the nighttime hours. As soon as the lighting up sign comes on, they'll use the yellow lights. In fact, they use them in all weathers as well, just as an extra. You know, it's all about safety. Anything that helps the drivers slow down and realise there's a potential problem in front has got to be good news. And again, Speed going to come back from a break in just a moment with us, so we will talk through this momentary black. Unfortunately, although we do ask for a clean feed, they don't often understand over in the States quite
Daytona
what we mean.
Is brought to you by Continental Tire, innovative technology, driving confidence. By BMW, the ultimate driving machine. And by Sunoco, the official fuel of Grand Am and fuel provider to 40 other racing series.
The boy Sterling down there in those shots from the early days. Dan Gurney, the first winner you saw in that first shot, as we rejoin our hosts at Speed, and there is part of the problem. Now, identify the car that came off. If that's not off a Mazda, I will be astonished. That is, but which Mazda is it? That's the 70 Speed course. It's not, it's the 17. It's a back bumper off a Porsche. There you are. I'm astonished. That's Nick Tandy's car.
So yeah, you just mentioned Dan Gurney there. That first race, 1962, was only a 3-hour race, and Dan Gurney drove that single-handed in a Lotus 19, which you correctly told us earlier lost its engine with a couple of laps to go, but he had such a big lead, didn't matter.
Parked it on the banking and rolled down to the line. Then they made that illegal as well.
This is the 49th running of the Daytona 24 Hours this week, but only 44 of them have been 24-hour races, because the others were either 3-hour races or in one case 6 hours, 1972. But more or less run without stopping since the early 1960s. Talking about stopping, I was at both the races that actually had to be stopped during a night. 1988, they had 3 hours stoppage because of fog in the night. And in 2004, torrential rain brought the race to a red flag for 3 hours, but they did continue again. But they still ran it from 3 o'clock or whatever till 3 o'clock. They don't add the time on that. They had to stop the race.
So Mark responsible for 2 stoppages of the Daytona 24 hours. Is it any wonder he has to sneak into the country under a different name these days?
Absolutely.
Here is our race leader. Up until about 40 minutes ago, Christophe Boucher in the 55 car held the lead of the race, with Luis Diaz now at the helm. Rolex 24 at Daytona action continues live on Eurosport until the top of the hour, until 8 p.m. Eastern, which is 2 a.m. Central European, or 0100 1 hour Zulu Greenwich Mean Time. So we will stay with the action then. Here's the car, the first car that was off the track in the race, the Mitcham Motorsports Porsche. Randy Popst was the unfortunate who got hefted off in the very first corner of the 24-hour race. From there it can only go uphill, really, I suppose, or it can only get better, let's say.
Where's he got back to now? Let's have a look. They were almost dead last.
The 86, they're still almost dead last, aren't they?
Yeah, well, they're actually give them their due. They're 26 in class out of 32, so they have made some space. If they can keep doing that over the next, where are we? Next
20 hours, 18 hours,
then they've got a good chance.
Jan Magnussen in the 57 Camaro that Robin Liddell started. As we said earlier, that's lost 19 laps.
They're up to 25th.
Click on that as a favourite, we'll be able to pick it up. If you go to the Daytona website, one of the features that they do in the timing and scoring is you can mark the cars that you are your favourites, and then you click on the button that says My Drivers, and it brings them all up in the order they are all in. So the ones I've marked so far, best of the Brits that I've managed to mark is Martin Brundle. He's now in the United Autosports with Michael Shank Racing Ford Riley. That car currently in 7th place. The 6 car that Justin Wilson shares, that is behind it in 8th place. The number 10, the 02 car rather, that Dario Franchitti shares, that's in 10th place. And the 88 car in the GT class, that is shared by Matthew Marsh.
Yep.
That is currently 27th in the GT overall and in the GT class. He's a Brit. Yeah, he just happens to live in the same way that Justin Wilson doesn't stop being British just because he lives in Colorado. Matthew Marsh has to stop being British just because he lives in... No, he's not.
Not born in Hong Kong?
No, he's from England, lives in Hong Kong, made the money to go racing in Hong Kong, lives and works in Hong Kong, but he is a proper Brit.
Right, so we're now, as we say, under caution, 5th time, 4 hours, 15 minutes of the race gone, and in comes the BMW.
And the BMW on a very different pit strategy from the Porsches with their flat 6 motors, from the Mazdas with their rotary 1.3 twin rotors. This, of course, tube frame chassis with a V8 engine. But it looks like the 44 car back in again. Now, this has been in for several problems. They had that anti-roll bar problem, didn't they? But no dramas for the BMW that leads the GT class. And you know what? That's just got a bit of an aura about it at the moment, car number 94. I wouldn't be surprised to see it still leading the GT class at lunchtime tomorrow and towards the 3 o'clock finish here in Daytona.
I mean, it's not your regular BMW, it's a space frame BMW. Bill Riley built the chassis underneath that. It's got the BMW M3 V8 in, the same car that factory uses in the ALMS and at Le Mans.
I was going to say not your regular BMW drivers, but of course over their careers in sports car racing, Boris Said and Bill Oberlin have been exactly that. Yeah. Very regular BMW drivers, but yeah, they're the kind that you'd let out into traffic.
And with the Gainsco team, what they had to do is there was a little spring bridge on top that they had to undo, pull the pads out, then loosen the caliper off the upright, pull the caliper off, then the rotor off. Now, the Ganassi guys, they do it different. This is a quick disconnect system. All they have to do is loosen these 2 bolts, disconnect the brake line, pull the entire caliper, pad, and rotor all in one piece, put the new one on, 2 bolts tighten up into the upright, quick disconnect back on, and they're ready to go. Last year, the 01 car did 3 of these different brake changes throughout the race. They're anticipating 2, but they're ready for 3 this year.
Well, custom little tricks like that are developed by, first of all, component manufacturers like brake manufacturers, gearbox manufacturers, but also by teams themselves to speed up routine jobs or, you know, some of the panic jobs that you plan on probably having to do. And Ganassi with a good example of that, just cutting out 2 or 3 little bits and pieces of the job that you have to do by getting the caliper redesigned. So interesting little piece there from Chris Neville, and completely different to the way I described it as well. So that all adds to it.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, that this spring clip system. So there we are, just looking at Ganassi's record here. They desperately want to win this race again. 3 back-to-back victories until 2 years ago when Porsche took over. Is it going to be a Porsche win again this year? We don't know yet. One thing we do know almost for certain is Ganassi out of the running, certainly at this point of the race.
Well, yes and no. Look who's second.
Exactly.
It's the 01 car, right in the queue behind Ricky Taylor, is last year's Grand Am Daytona prototype champion, Memo Rojas. They have come back. They had that gear cluster change first lap or first pit stop.
They are owed a pit stop, of course, Ganassi. Well,
so when maybe but it's a long race. You know, 18 hours left to go at least, and around the outside for the lead he goes, and that's a wild lunge from Memo Rojas, but he just holds it together. And right behind, although 2 laps behind, is this car. This is Dario Franchitti's car, the sister car, the 02, goes down the inside. They are duffing up car number 10, and also lapped, and many laps behind comes the Flying Lizard car, and he's not going to wait politely behind either. Memo better, not Memo Rojas, rather, Ricky Taylor better keep his nose out of the way, because I think the Flying Lizard car needs to be let by. Look, he's 19 laps behind, or whatever it is, behind the race leader, and so Ricky Taylor, he doesn't want to lose momentum. On the other hand, he can't risk being taken out by lapped cars. He's already lost the lead, no point in losing anything more.
So Juan Pablo Montoya has, and the car he's driving, the 02 car, they've clawed a lap back since their earlier problems. They are now just 1 lap down, 130 against Ricky Taylor's 131. Memo Rojas, as you say, has come right back up through the field. I think he is out of sequence on the pit stops at the moment. Sasha Masson in third place, the ex-Porsche factory driver, now Spirit of Daytona, Coyote Chevrolet, and Buddy Rice in the Action Express racing car that won last year, back up there.
Cold tyres catching out the driver of the 55 car that led the race earlier. That's Luis Diaz. Took over from Christophe Bouchou. Scott Tucker started that. So Mark Wilkins, the fourth hand of their bridge table, has yet to have his drive. And the 99 Gaines Code car leaves Bob Stolling's team. And out again. I'm guessing this is going to be John Fogarty now. We heard from Jimmy Johnson early on. Alex Gurney started it.
John brought it in with the brake problem. I took it over. It first had the brake problem. Had to bring it in. As you know, they've changed the front discs, calipers, presumably the back ones as well. We don't know, but it's in the garage for a long time. They've lost a bundle of time, haven't they? Just going to catch up. They've gone down 9 laps.
Now, interestingly, the battle for the lead is back on. Ricky Taylor has shrugged off the Sunred in the Suntrust car, has shrugged off the Flying Lizards car. And I wonder whether that car is just... No, he hasn't. He's just gone around the outside of him. That is a big pass for the 45 car. Who's on board? Johannes, is it still? Johannes van Overbeek? No, it's Jörg Bergmeister. Yeah, well, I should have guessed, shouldn't I? Goes by Ricky Taylor to unlap himself from Ricky. He'll get 1 lap back. And interestingly, the first car you can see way around the banking there, that is Juan Pablo in the 02 car. He has unlapped himself fully, so they are now on the tail of the lead lap. I think Dario got the first lap back. They were 2 behind when Dario got in. I think Dario's entire stint got them 1 lap back. I think Juan Pablo at the restart there, benefiting from that caution, may just have crept them onto the very tail of the lead lap. And if so, then game on for both the 01 and 02 car.
The cautions have been playing into their hands, haven't they? And I shall now withdraw what I said about Ganassi. Must be out of the game plan, and I'm sure when we wake up tomorrow morning we'll find they are 1-2 and
all parked. Whatever. But there is the leader with the blue nose. That's the 01 car of Memo Rojas, the reigning Daytona prototype champion, with Scott Pruitt, who also shares it. They lead the race from Ricky Taylor in car number 10. The second place car is, well, a car length and a half, maybe a car length and a quarter behind the 01. No, that's the Flying Lizards car. There is Ricky Taylor with the silver Suntrust car. And Bergmeister, who started that 45 car, says the car was so perfect after practice, we just left it alone, didn't touch it, didn't polish it. That whole thing. He's a great German guy, and he understands perfectly, if it ain't broke, don't go near it.
I think Rick is under instruction from his dad to just hold station, don't get involved with this lot, because 2 of the cars ahead of him are laps down. The car that's leading at the moment, we still believe has got to make a pit stop fairly soon. It didn't come in during that last caution, and Memo Rojas is still at the wheel. 133 laps completed. Buddy Rice in 4th place, as we said, the car that won last year. Christian Fittipaldi, he's taken over the number 9 Action Express car, Buddy Rice's teammate. And Christian, of course, another of the Daytona 24 Hours winners over the years, and nice to see him back in. You'll look for his yellow helmet.
Yeah, absolutely. He took over. That car was started by Joao Barbosa. Terry Borchella's driven it as well. They're going in order of entry list, Christian Fittipaldi. And don't forget who's in 3rd place as well. Sasha Mawson up to 3rd place. Back up the order is that Spirit of Daytona Racing Coyote Chevy that Paul Edwards had in the lead of the race. And around again goes the 36 Yellow Dragon Motorsport Mazda RX-8. It's had a front end smash with somebody. Well, we saw the front end damage, and it's losing lots of fluid, so he has run hard into the back of something.
That's at the East Horseshoe. That's the final hairpin before they go on to the banking. There's going to be a lot of mess on the track.
And right in the middle there. And through it go our lapped cars. There's your race leader, 01, taking things carefully. Yellow lights are out there, and this slow-moving car in front is not just a slow-moving car, it's a slow-moving car leaving a trail of slime, because they don't use normal water. They use a lot of glycol in the cars for cooling. So the sort of thing that you would use in antifreeze, and a lot of the time that will leave a very slick surface, and Bergmeister sticks his nose on the inside. This is Jörg Bergmeister versus Juan Pablo Montoya. Now there's a battle to conjure with. Bergmeister's got the run. Juan Pablo, yeah, I'm 17 laps ahead of you. Off you go, Jörg. You can, you know, you started on pole. They dropped all the way down to 20th, 19th place, I think, though. So they've got a long race of attrition. But we heard from Jörg earlier. So what are you going to do? Just try and get it to the finish? No, I'm going to try and win.
Well, he told...
never a man for the realistic option. Oh, and that's the PR1 car parked in the wall.
Yeah, he's had a spin, hasn't he, in turn 2. Put it into the pit wall, exit wall.
Another British driver in that car. May not be at the moment. Ryan Lewis, Tom Papadopoulos, Max Hyatt and David Cheng he shares with. Ryan started it. And slippery surface flag. Now he's found some of the slippery surface, hasn't he?
Again, just where he'd spun off. If we see that again, you'll see there's a big pool of water there. Whether it's from him or someone else, we do not yet know.
There's nothing coming out of the bottom of his car. You can normally see that quite clearly. So I think that Tom Papadopoulos got... Oh no, that was a different bit of slick. Maybe that... Yeah, that was the original impact, I think, that burst the rads on the Mazda, that then spun on its own fluids up at turn 5, the other hairpin. There's where the Mazda spun. And I think he just went off on his own goo. And as you can see, it doesn't look like water. And that's what's left of the Mazda coming back in. There's nothing left to escape from it now, is it? It's just fumes and steam.
Bill Riley be rubbing his hands. All these parts he's got to... They could be queuing up for them tonight at his garage.
I tell you, they have been wrecking Mazdas like they're no longer eligible for racing, haven't they? There's barely a Mazda that hasn't had a big impact with something. And the Magnus Racing Porsche boys, now their car's back out on track. They're watching the TV, and the 81 Ferrari again is parked off course. The Dragon Speed Ferrari 430 has had more trouble than anything else. And I thought it was parked for good back there, but no, they've just parked it again. Obviously, it quite likes that bit of standing ground. And is that a red light?
Nick Jones.
Is that a red flag, or is it a full course caution? That looked like it was red rather than yellow.
Gone full course caution.
Yeah, okay, well, maybe that was just a light beyond the fence in the paddock there somewhere.
Mainly because of the fluid on the track. And
yeah, I'm sure it is. So, caution number 6.
BMW introduced the M3, a blend of race car and street car comfort. It changed how drivers viewed their daily ride. After 4 generations, BMW M3 is still winning awards and turning heads. As BMW is looking around the next corner, like most car manufacturers, they see a smaller car world. This year, BMW is introducing the M3's little brother, the 1M. The 1M is essentially the M3 chassis stuffed under a 1 Series body. It has the M3 aluminum subframes and suspension, but has a 3-inch shorter wheelbase and weighs over 400 pounds less. With the M3 brake, tire, and wheel package, this compact hot rod could have the best stopping power of any BMW. The M3 is powered by a 414 horsepower V8, while the 1M has a razor-sharp twin turbocharged inline 6 that produces 335 horsepower and almost 75 pound-feet of torque more than the M3 when engaging the temporary boost. The 1M carries the signature lower and wider stance of all previous M models and the chrome-tipped dual exhaust. New to BMW is the air curtain system. These slots in the bodywork improve airflow around the rotating.
Okay, well, I don't know if they were rehearsing, showing us that off air as they were at break. I have a feeling we may see all of that report from Chris Neville again. There is, well, why is it an M3, an M5, an M6? Why is the 1 Series not an M1? If you need to know the answer to that question, go Google BMW M1, and then you'll know why the 1 Series Coupe is not called an M1. That's an entirely different kettle of fish. Listen, we're going to have to leave you here in about 3 minutes. Our viewers on British Eurosport and International Eurosport, we will take our leave of you in about 3 minutes' time. We are still under caution, full course caution, and as the 01 car comes in to top off, Ricky Taylor has the lead for Sun Trust Racing. Patience is rewarded. Sasha Mawson in second place in the Spirit of Racing, Spirit of Daytona racing car. No, he's not. He's gone into top off. So is Ricky Taylor. That leaves the 60 car on point, but he is not on the lead lap. That leaves the 5 car of Buddy Rice there as our race leader. So Buddy Rice with the blue roof and airbox there on the number 5 car. Yeah, that is the car that leads. We're going to leave you in just a couple of minutes. Well, Mark, you know, 4 hours of utter insanity nigh on. There's 20 more to go. Who on earth knows what's going to be going on by the time we rejoin the action here tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening on British Eurosport?
Oh, it's just going to continue to be manic. It never stops in the night. Every time I've been to the Rolex 24, you think about 1 in the morning, okay, I'm just going to knock off for a while. No, suddenly more things happen. You finish up there till 7 in the morning. And
all right, well, that's about enough of Chris Neville, I think. So we'll take our leave of you now. Listen, we'll be back at 7:45 tomorrow evening, Greenwich Mean Time, which is 20:45 Central European Time. So wherever you're watching us, enjoy your evening, enjoy your day tomorrow. Don't forget, if you want to watch the pictures, Speed TV's website, speedtv.com. If you want to watch live timing and scoring, grandam.com, and there will be updates on the Yahoo Eurosport website as well. But for the moment, from Mark Cole and from me, Martin Haven, we'll leave you with these images of Daytona Beach, and hopefully there will be a hell of a finish ready for tomorrow night.